Hi, I'm Ross from Airsoft, and today we are going to be taking a look at the Stingray AT4 launcher and fire control system. Fire. That. We recently took a look at the Claymore system by Stingray, and the rocket launcher system is in a way similar, but also very different. So let's go over what all is included in this system here. So we have the launcher itself. The launcher is constructed of fiber reinforced epoxy for the main structure. That is the actual construction of real AT4 launchers. And then internally, a lot of these parts are built with ABS and reinforced polymer, with some of the externals also being ABS and that printed kind of style. So you have kind of a mix of components here that bring it together to make a very accurate looking replica. You have all of the tags on here for your danger zones, your safety pins, your instructions, things of that nature. All the little add-ons that kind of make it more of a realistic AT4 build and can kind of complete that look for your kit. On the back here, we have a realistic firing mechanism with a red pull tab that you twist to unlock and open up, allowing you to slide your round in, lining it up with your yellow on yellow, and then adding your cap back on and locking it again. So a relatively realistic firing system back there. You then go up a little bit and you have your rear safety, and then you have another secondary safety and your firing mechanism. We also have our cover here, which holds not only a fixed front sight as well as your battery placement. They recommend an 11-1 in this guy. It is wired to Dean's out of the box, and there is plenty of room in there for a battery. And I'll explain how exactly the functionality of this works and why it requires a battery in a moment. So we come all the way up front here, and we do have our fixed front sight as well, with 3 different posts for different range increments. On the underneath, we have a flip down for a shoulder rest position, as well as 2 sling mounts for your sling so that you can carry this guy more comfortably. You also have a cheek rest here in the middle, and then a Picatinny rail right next to your battery compartment, which is where we have the fire control system currently mounted. So these guys do come with an orange shroud, which pop off really easily, which is what we did on this guy here. Now, this is one of the older models of AT4. This is one of their first released ones. Since then, they have actually increased the standard of construction on these guys using different parts and components to make them a bit more reinforced. But as a baseline, this is the bare minimum of what you're getting in construction. It's built very well. It's relatively light, but still has a hefty feel. It doesn't feel like it's gonna break on you if you drop it or anything like that. It is definitely constructed well. And you can get 4 different types of ammunition with this guy. So you have their standard rockets, which is going to be a foam tip. You have the sound ones, which have these little divots on the side that allow for a bit of a whistle when it flies through the air. You have the tracing ones, which light up. And then you have the marking ones, which act similarly to a chalk round, where it actually leaves kind of a substance on impact. Now, the way these guys actually work, there's no green gas, there is no propane, there's no pyro, and there's no BBs. So basically what we are looking at is we have this tube here, and you have 2 metal contacts on the bottom. These are gonna line up with the metal contacts in your AT4 replica. Now, once all of your safeties are undone and pressed in and you hit that fire, it's gonna send a signal to that contact back there, which is then going to burn a short little fuse that is holding a compressed can of air. It is HPA air back here. Once that burns off, it is going to release it, firing off the round out of the front, which is simply a foam football. You have these 4 fins here that pop down, and then it flies through the air, doing either your tracer, your sound, your marking, or whatever of the sort. These guys are supposed to fly about 300 feet as per Stingray. I will say that that is going to be subject to change depending on your weather environment. We obviously had a lot of different performance out of these, some outperforming what was supposed to happen and some underperforming, just depending on the weather and the environment that we were in. So just something to be aware of is that. But these guys are basically just a little foam football that are firing out under a high pressure air system. And it is all loaded in and fired in, operating out of this one canister. And the rocket itself is really just activating those trigger contacts. So just something to keep in mind if you decide to pick up any of these launcher systems from Stingray, they're all gonna work pretty much the same way and very similarly with their rockets and firing system. It's mainly gonna be your launcher that is aesthetically different. So the AT4 here in front of me, and then obviously your rockets that go along with it. So now to talk very briefly about the FCS, the fire control system, which I have mounted on the Picatinny rail here. This guy is constructed of ABS material. It takes two CR123s in the side of it here, and it is a very nifty sight. It actually predicts and trajects your rocket's distance and the elevation you need your launcher at. Obviously, there are some settings to go into this, both with wind adjustment as well as elevation. But if you set your settings right, you can line it up, and it is a really, really cool feature. If you go into the settings on this, you can change it between either the AT4 like this or to other launcher systems. So you can set it up so that it can track your tag and launchables and really get in a good distance on that. So this is just a really brief thing I wanted to touch on because I have been testing it in conjunction with the AT4, and it's been a really cool system. It's something I want to mess with more on with tag and launchables and other launchable systems, as well as even just regular airsoft guns, and see if I can get a predictive arcing for, you know, long shots with an airsoft rifle. I think that'd be really cool. But that's really not the focus of today's video. I wanted to talk about the AT4 launcher itself, but I just had to discuss the optic a little bit considering the fact that I've been using it in conjunction. It is definitely something that makes you feel like you're high tech. I will say, however, that specifically for the AT launcher itself, I have found that just eyeballing it and really just placing on a good shot is how I prefer to play. But that's me in general. When using any airsoft replica, I tend to not use the sights. I tend to kind of look past them and fire at the hip and really just point fire. So that's just me, but something that is definitely really cool and worth taking a look at is the fire control system sight. So definitely take a look at it. If you use launchables, even if you're not considering the AT4, it is definitely something worth taking a look at and looking into. So that's pretty much all I have to say about the Stingray AT4 launcher. There's not a lot really to say about it. It's not a very complicated system. It looks really cool. It is built very nice. The launching system itself, the rockets are unique to themselves. I haven't really seen another company that makes a system like this, but they are not overly complex or you know, confusing to wrap your mind around it. The system works very well. It's very simple. It is mainly 3 stages: power in, contact is triggered, and your gas output, and then your rocket leaving the barrel. All right, so let me know what you guys think about the Stingray AT4 launcher. I know I kind of briefly went over the externals, internals, and what all you see here and are getting, but there is a lot to this system. I mean, the rockets themselves are very unique, and I can see a lot of different fire systems being able to take them. I can also see a lot of different, you know, projectiles being able to be built into these. So I'm really curious to see where Stingray goes in the future with their products. I'm already very happy to see things like the AT4 and the Claymore system. So let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you would run these in the field, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you.